Okay, this is video 2. So in the first video, we created a roof by footprint. We created a gable roof and then a hip roof. We turned it into a hip roof. We also added a roof by extrusion by creating this profile and extruding it back. We talked about roof by face. That would be in the mass modeling project video. And then we created a soffit on this roof, a fascia board we attached at the end of the roof, and a gutter on one of those sides. We did also look at creating a flat roof and sloping the roof down to the drains here by using those sub elements. Okay, so now let's take a look at what actually happens as we start to work with roofs. The first thing I'd like to do is work with this other just basic box that we created. That was one of the first things we did in our level 1 view. We created these 4 simple rectangles. Okay, so I was in level 1, but now I want to be in level 2 because that's the level that we want to set the roof. So let's double click on level 2. And now we can really see that this is my flat roof and my roof by extrusion and my hip roof here. So let's go to roof by footprint. And for this one, we want to define the slope. We're putting a check mark and defines the slope. And we're going to use a 1 foot overhang. So we'll put 1 in there. But we're only going to define the slope for the top here, edge, and the bottom. And now I'm going to take the check mark out of define slope and click on the other 2 walls. Now, like I said, in video 1, we went through this and talked about a few more things. The other thing we want to be careful of is that when you set up some defaults for the project or the part of the roof that you just finished, you have to really watch properties because it still has the -2 offset that we used for the flat roof. So we want to put that back at 0 so that our roof sits at the top of the wall. I'll go ahead and pick apply. Okay, and then pick the green check mark, and because we changed the view range in video 1, you can see the whole roof here. If we go back to the 3D view, now we can extend the walls, and we did say that you could rest your pointer on that wall, press and let go of tab, the tab key, so that it kind of finds the chain of walls, and then click so that all of the walls are selected. I can pick attach top base and then select the roof. And now all I did here, guys, was I created a simple building with a gable roof, and I kind of extended these end walls up to it. Now, the new part of this video, and this is what I'm getting at here, is what happens when you have an extension of your project or an addition that's added here, and now you need to tie that roof in. So maybe from the beginning you have an addition and Revit will automatically pick it up, but now we want to add something. So we'll go to level 1, and for this project here, we want to add an addition. So we'll go ahead and start the wall tool. We're using the basic generic wall as we were before. We changed the top constraint here. We went up here and changed the height to level 2. So some of these things are carrying over from the first video. If you didn't get a chance to watch the first video, we'll need to change our height to level 2. And then here I'm just going to kind of randomly create an addition that comes off of this original building. Now when you do that, I use the wall tool to draw this wall, and now I need to be able to cut this out. One way to do that is to go to modify, the modify tab at the top, and then underneath the modify panel you'll find all these different tools, like similar to AutoCAD, where you can rotate and copy and move and offset and even mirror, but here there's there are two different splits. One's split with the gap, and then this other one is split elements. We used split with the gap when we looked at the walls video, but split with an element, I'm just going to go ahead and select that. Now, if you want the inner segment to be deleted, you have to put a check mark in delete inner segment. If you don't put a check mark in here, it will split it still, but then you have one more step of kind of deleting out this wall. So I can click here, and you see how it kind of like opens up that wall. Kind of awesome, yep. So you can use your escape key, or you can right click and pick cancel a bunch of times, but I've been leaning towards clicking on this modify button at the top left to completely get out of all the commands. Now I have the wall, I'm ready to put a roof. What we're going to do, and I'm just going to give you a preview of what we're doing, is we're going to be using this tool right here, Join, Unjoin Roof. So here's the idea. You create a roof that already has a gable on it, or it could be hip, but the back side, that's the key. The back side of your roof is going to be flat so that you can use this Join, Unjoin Roof to extend it to the existing roof. That's the idea. So we want to go to level 2, double click on level 2 so that we can add this roof. We'll go over to the architecture tab and go to the roof tools to pick roof by footprint. Whether it's a gable or a hip on this end, it doesn't matter, but since we already have a gable design going on, we'll stick with that. So that means that we can, since there's no check mark in define slope, we can go ahead and click here. So that's not going to slope, it's gable end. I'm going to put the check mark in define slope and click on this side and this side because we want that to kind of slope up and we want this to be our gable end. Now I'm going to take the check mark out of define slope because what I want to do is just create a flat piece here. In fact, I'm going to take out the overhang. We want it to be 0 so that we're creating this flat side that we can extend to the existing roof. And I'm going to then draw it using this line icon over in the draw panel. So I clicked on line, and now I'm going to draw a line across here. I'm in the sketch mode. Right click and pick cancel or escape out of that if you want. And then I'm still in sketch mode. I can't leave these ends like this. So I can either pull them back to make sure that they connect here, or the tool that I've been using a lot is this one here in the modify panel called Trim Extend Corner. If I click on Trim Extend Corner, I can click on these two lines, sort of like a fillet with the radius of 0 in AutoCAD. I can go ahead and click on those two. So what did I do here? I created two gable ends that slope, two ends that slope, and a gable end that doesn't have a slope here, so it's straight down, and then a flat here surface that I can use to take that roof and extend it to the existing one. So I'll go ahead and pick the green check mark, and now I can go over into the 3D view so we can kind of see it a little bit better. See, this is almost exactly what that video was showing in the command that I showed you in the modify tab. So let's go to the modify tab and just rest your pointer on Join, Unjoin Roof. Watch the little video there. See how it extends to the existing? So we're going to click on the edge of that roof, the new roof, and then on the face that we want to extend it to. So I'm going to click on Join, Unjoin Roof. I'll click on this back side of the new roof that we created, and then on this front face, you see how it kind of extends, and because it's at the same height, you get this nice transition from one roof to the other. All right, we can still extend here this this end wall. I'm going to go ahead and select it, and then pick Attach Top Base, and pick here to attach that. All right, looking good here. And I did say also, if you select an object before you orbit, it makes it a little bit easier to orbit around. I did notice, and this happens sometimes, because these two sides did not extend to the roof, I will pick those two, or else I'll have that little piece right there that's kind of annoying sometimes. So I'm going to go ahead and select this wall, pick attach top base, and pick the roof. There it goes. It's extended now. The other one extended automatically, but that one didn't, so you want to double check that. Just to make sure, I'm going to select it, pick attach top, and then top base, and then click on the roof. All right, so this is how, if you created an addition and you want to tie back the roof, you can tie it back in this way. And this is, guys, this is exactly how you would create a dormer. Okay, so I just typed in roof dormer and I did a search, and I'm looking through the images to show you that if you have a roof dormer, which would be like these up here, this right here, you can build it in the same way. You create another level for where the wall starts, and you create the walls, then you create the roof just like I did, and you use that join roof to join it with the other roof in the same way that I just worked on. The only difference is that you're going to go over to the elevation and create a different level for the base of your walls, so that there's some place that you're starting with those walls. Now what I'd like to move forward and show you is how to create this kind of dormer, something that has the roof split and it slopes up, but the wall goes all the way up to it. There is no kind of like roof in front of it right here. So it's still a dormer, but it's just a dormer with the extension of this wall. Okay, back into Revit. We'll do that on the other side. So hold your shift key and the wheel of your mouse, or use this full navigation wheel to orbit over to the other side. All right, so somewhere in here we want to be able to take a portion of this and split it so that it slopes up and creates this dormer where this wall can go straight up through it. And so what we want to do is modify this roof. We're going to double click on the roof so that we have this purple line. Now we want to split that line so that we can attach a sloped arrow, just giving you the idea of what we're doing. We're splitting that line or that edge of that roof so that we can create a sloped arrow that goes in up towards a new pitch. Now if you look at this sloped arrow tool, this can also be used to change the location of the top of any of these other roofs. Like for instance, the one that we just created, by default the ridge or the top part of the roof was right in the center. But if you use sloped arrows, you can have it so that you have kind of a shorter piece of roof on one side and longer on the other, and you can see that when you rest your pointer on sloped arrow. Okay, coming back to this edge here, we're going to split it. Just like we used here, split element, we're going to go ahead and click split element, and we're splitting it in 3 different points. The first point is where the roof slope will start, and then we want to try to make it equal. I would think maybe I'll go 7 feet, maybe 6 feet. This is where that portion, that 6 foot portion, is going to slope up. So this is going to be like the top of it. And then, oh, you know what? I deleted the inner segment and I don't want to do that. So make sure, let's do an undo. You can click the undo button at the top. I want to take the check mark out of delete inner segment because I don't want that segment to be deleted. I need those 2 little pieces of roof edge to be there so that they can slope up. So what I have already is I have this one split. So I'm going to come over. I took the check mark out of delete inner segment. I'm going to come over 6 feet and click again. You see how it kind of keeps that segment in there? And then I'm going to go over 6 more feet right about right there and click. So this is what we should end up with. We should have 4 here triangles when we split that wall. I'm going to right click and pick cancel a couple of times, or pick the modify button to get out of it. I just want to verify with you. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 line segments. Now these inner 2 line segments are the ones that are going to slope up using the slope arrow. So we don't want to slope on it. So we want to click on that line and take the check mark out of define slope. See what it does? It takes that little arrow out of there, a little triangle I'm saying, and now click on the other one and take the check mark out of define slope and click in space. So now we still have 4 pieces of line. These 2 are going to slope up. These 2 don't have a slope on it. So what we're going to do is put a slope on it by using the slope arrow. So let's click on slope arrow. What you want to do is find the beginning of one of those lines, so that that would be kind of like the bottom of the roof pitch. I'm going to click there, and I'm going to come towards what would be the top of the roof slope, or you can see the arrow is going to go up that way. And now I need to make another sloped arrow so go ahead and click on sloped arrow from this side over to the center right here. So if you think about it, we have these 2 segments of roof that are using this sloped arrow as a way to telling that edge to go up. And when you click on one of those sloped arrows, look in the properties. We have the tail, which is at 0, and the head, which is at 10 feet. So instead of giving it a slope, we're saying that the roof pitch right here, that's going to go up 10 feet. Let's see what it looks like. Pick the green check mark, and you'll see that it went a little bit too high. I mean, maybe that's what you like, but you see how it kind of went higher than this edge, so we want to make that a little bit lower. I kind of knew that was going to happen, but because I want to show you how to change it. You can double click on the roof, go over and click on the sloped arrow, and then over here change the height offset. We don't need it to be that tall. Maybe it's 5 feet. I'm just going to change it from 10 feet to 5 feet, and then pick apply, and now click off of it and click on the other arrow, sloped arrow, and change that one to 5 feet and pick apply. Now when we pick the green check mark, you'll see that when you click out in space, you've got this really nice little dormer that is created at on this wall, and it automatically kind of updates itself to extend to this part of the roof. All right then, well, I'm going to add one more thing to this video that's not in the older video, and a couple of other things. Here we have what happens when you have an addition that's at the end here. That's always a question, and I'm always helping people in the design studio on projects with that part of it, because the wall is going to extend to this roof, but it's not going to fill in this little hole here. So let's take a look. Going back to the level 1, we're going to add an addition to the end, so we kind of have a double gable, right? To do that, we're going to start the wall tool. So we'll go to the architecture tab and click on wall, and it doesn't really matter where it is. I'm just going to make it a smaller addition so you can kind of see that we want it to be on this side of the ridge, the roof ridge. So I'm going to start here and click, pull my mouse over because I'm creating this this addition, and then down. But I'm not going to go back to it because I want to extend that wall to it. So I'm just going to go ahead and click there, and then end that tool. So I just created 2 walls here. Now I can just extend this wall to it just by clicking on it and using that grip to pull it over to it. And now I've got this kind of addition here. I didn't want to put a double wall here, right? Because we want to be able to extend this wall to whatever addition we're making. And I could use the split element to split this, or I could just click on the wall and use that glue grip to kind of pull it back. So now I have this kind of opening here. Okay. So now we want to place a roof on it, and we know that we want the roof to be another gable, like a double gable, so we need to be in level 2. So all we did here, if you want to see, let's just show you what I did. And this is the issue that I'm going to be showing you and working with you on. When we create this opening right here, we want to be able to add another roof. So let's go to level 2. We'll go to roof by footprint. And just like we did before, we're going to create a roof, but the roof has to go back to where the wall is. This wall right here, underneath this, because the roof is going under the existing roof on one side. You'll see as we start to work with it. So I want to define a slope, and I want to go ahead and put a 1 foot overhang in it. And this side is going to be a slope, and this bottom side is going to be sloped. It's the same slope as that one. And this end is not going to be sloped. So I'm going to go ahead and put define slope. No. Now this one I have to just draw. I have to draw it because I don't, well, I guess I could click on this wall, but then I'd have to edit it anyway. So many different ways of doing this. I'll just go ahead and click on the line icon so that I can come in here and find out where this wall is underneath it and click and pull my mouse over so that it lines right up and click. See what I did? I am sketching this so that I can have this line up with that wall, but I need to close it, right? And I have this extended piece here. So I'm going to use this trim extend corner to click on these 2 lines and click on these 2 lines. And now I have this box. That's what I wanted to end up with, guys. I want to end up with a box. I can always stretch this out if I need to. And that's what I usually do anyway. Stretch it out to catch that that wall. So I have 2 sides that are sloping up, and another third side that's not, because that's the gable end. And I have a 1 foot overhang on those 3 sides. This side I just drew a line, and I tried to get in here and draw it at the face of this wall. And if it's not exact, we can always modify it later. Okay, if I pick the green check mark and I go to the 3D view, what I'm seeing here is exactly what happens, and this is what students start to talk to me about, and people in general here, because first of all, we have these 2 roofs that are kind of overlapping. Now, as long as they have the same pitch, this really should be just all one piece. As long as they have the same pitch, which they do, I can go over to the modify tab, and it's not the same unjoin roof. This is where you're learning another command. It's called join. It's in geometry, but it's called join, and it's used for a lot of things. It's used to join geometry, walls and other elements, right? But for this case, we're joining the roofs. So I'm going to click on join, and then I'll click on this roof and this roof. You see what it did? It just kind of opened it up completely. Now you can kind of see that there's still individual roofs, but it joined like the graphics for it. And this is exactly what you can use if you happen to have like a roof like this one that's going into the other roof and you don't see this line and you want to see the line of the valley there. Use this join and you'll see it. You'll see that it'll define the valley for you, this line right there. Okay, so that's one issue solved, in that you built an addition that's on the end, and that's supposed to be all one roof, so we're using the join to take care of that. This is the other thing that happens. When you split that wall, the split in the wall went all the way up, and it formed this kind of opening, this kind of gap here. There's no roof there, right? So we need to be able to fill that in. There are a couple of different ways you can do this. I will show you one way and I'll talk to you about the other way. So when you're modifying walls, you can double click on the wall, and what it does is it removes all the attachments, but you're left with this purple line that you can use to pick lines and pick the bottom side of this this roof and pick this roof, and you're basically creating then a shape of the wall that goes around and fills in this opening. This is great, but what happens sometimes is it disconnects itself with this other wall and you get these kind of somewhat issues from corner to corner. So I'm going to close out of that with the red X there and go back to this. The better choice, I think, is to extend the wall over, don't split it, but put an opening in it. That's what it basically is in the construction anyway. So let's go back to level 1. We're going to click on this wall and leave it in there. So hold your left mouse button down on the blue grip and pull it over. Now, we left it in there. If we go back to the 3D view, look at that. Nice, cleaned up. We already brought this roof back to the wall, so there shouldn't be any gaps there. It's very nice. But now, what do we have? We have a wall that's in our way. So we'll go over to level 1, and instead of using the idea of breaking this wall and modifying it to the opening there that's created on the outside, we're going to go over to the architecture tab and look for a panel called opening. We're going to create an opening, and that opening is going to be the wall opening right there at the top right corner of the architecture tab. If you watch the little video they did add for us, which is awesome, this idea that you can even open up the wall on curved walls, which is pretty cool. That's part of, I think it's part of the walls video, or one of those walls video that shows you that you can draw another wall in there and then swap it out for a glass wall if you wanted to have an opening, some kind of panel in there. Anyhow, going back to this project, we're going to click on wall opening, and the first thing we're doing is we're going to select the wall to create a rectangular opening. Hey, just in case you didn't know this, AutoCAD has this huge command line. It's right in your face, like showing you the dialogue with Revit. At the bottom left corner, you can kind of read some of what it's telling you. So when you start a command, it's not as open as other like AutoCAD, but it says select a wall to create a rectangular opening. So I'm selecting this wall, and now it's saying enter start point of it. So somewhere around here, I'm going to click, because I'm going to pull it back. So I'm just going to randomly click here and here. There's my wall opening. How about that? So if you have an opening in your wall that you're using to go from one room to another, you can use this wall opening. I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of that. When I come back here, I can click on that wall opening. Although you can't see it, you can still click on it. Okay, so what happens here is if you try to pull this opening back, it's okay on this side, but on this side it wants to unjoin itself from this wall, and it kind of makes it harder to work with a little bit. So I'm going to give you kind of a fix for that, because see what happens if I do this, I'm going to get a warning, and it kind of displaces itself from the roof. So what I'm going to show you here is a way that you can unjoin or not allow a wall to join with another one. It's a good idea to know this, because sometimes we have a short wall that could be shorter than another wall, and we don't want it to flow through and connect, right? So I'm going to back this up a little bit, this opening, so I can show you that you can take this existing wall and pull it away from the other wall, just like that. And then when you click on it, you can right click and pick right at the end. So click right on the end of it, of the wall right there. Right click and pick disallow join. I don't use this one very often, but this is a way to disconnect it from kind of cleaning up. There's a default radius around each one of the ends of these walls that kind of cleans up the walls when they kind of go into each other. So if I pick disallow join, now when I pull this wall to it, it goes to it, but it doesn't join. If I wanted it to join again, I could just click on this little icon right there that, if you look at it, it says allow join. So that's another thing that we've picked up that's about walls, but it does pertain to this, because now that this is not joined, I can go back to my wall opening and pull it all the way down and not get an error because now it's disconnected from the other wall, and there's my nice opening. But the point of all of this going back is to be able to maintain it so that now I can click on this this wall. If yours didn't go back to its original, it might already still be connected to the roof. But here I'm clicking on this wall. I'm going to click on attach. Well, first of all, when you look at it, you see what's happening here. It's kind of like a bigger wall, and then it goes over the opening from one room to the other. So I'm going to click on that wall, pick attach, and then click on this roof, and it goes and it attaches. Same thing here. In fact, in this one, yeah, I already have the other one attached. I'm going to click on this, attach it, and click the roof. So now we have this nice smooth gable, double gable, and we have this roof kind of coming through, and no issues here with the wall. All right, then, those are some of the main things that people have asked me. The video is getting a little long, but there was one more thing I wanted to show you. I think I will throw it in here because this is important. I think if you wanted to cut this roof down, because there's another maybe second floor in here, but it starts back a little ways, or if you want to create sloped glazing that's at the top like a skylight. So let's take a look at that. We first need to create another level that we'll use to bring this roof down to it and kind of like cut it off, right? So we'll go to one of these elevations. Let's see which one. Yeah, the north elevation is good for me. Whatever elevation you want to use to get to this original gable construction. And if you didn't have one of these because you're just joining us in the second video, just go ahead and create a hipped roof so that we can work with this. We're going to, in the architecture tab, we're in the elevation, click on level at the top right. And let's say somewhere around here, we want the roof to cut back to this level so that we can make the top part of like a skylight, right? So I clicked, I'm gonna pull my mouse over and click, here's my level 3. Now I'll go back to the 3D view because I like to work in that. You click on that roof, and then over here in properties, this is called a cutoff level. A cutoff level. And if you just rest your pointer, you'll see that it shows a picture of like you being able to cut the roof down. So instead of it being none, we wanted to cut off at level 3. If we cut it off at level 3 and we pick apply, see what it did? It just kind of like cut back some of that roof. So this is perfect if you have maybe a deck on your second floor and you have roof that's going up and hitting the wall. This could be the roof coming up to hit the wall at that level. So now what we're looking at doing is creating another roof and then turning it into glass. So we'll go to level 3. And in this level 3, you can see that we can't see it, right? Because it's too far below. And again, we're going over to underlay to change the underlay in properties to something like level 1. And you see now I can see everything. I could actually see it because that's it right there. But, oh no, it's over here. There it is. Right there. But I went to level 3 and I changed the underlay to level 1 so I could kind of see everything that I'm working on. And over here, this is what we're doing. We cut it back, and now we're going to roof by footprint so that I can take, create an extension of this roof. We need to define a slope because we want it to kind of all slope, keep sloping up into the hip roof. But we don't want to overhang, so put that as 0. And we don't have walls to select, so we could either draw lines, or another tool I want to show you is called pick lines. Pick lines. So instead of drawing the lines, I'm going to click on pick lines right here where it says in the draw, like panel, where we have our tools to create a roof. And I'm going to click on these 4 sides. These 4 sides. So I'm basically creating a second roof. I'm creating a second roof that is extending from the first one with the same slope. And we'll see that. Let's go ahead and pick the green check mark. I'll go back to the 3D view, and there it is. I created a second roof. And if I scroll around here, it shouldn't have... It kind of lifted itself up a little bit, and we're going to change that anyways because we want it to be glass instead. So we'll click on that little piece of roof and then go to properties, and in the drop down pick sloped glazing. Sloped glazing. Now you can already see that because of the thickness of the roof, the sloped glazing is at the bottom there. So you want to scooch it up a little, and that's where we change the base offset from in properties. So the base offset from, I'm going to start with something like 9 inches. Make sure it's inches or else it'll go feet, right? You see how it's kind of like scooching up so that it's in line with it? I'll use 10. Let's see what happens. 10 inches. See, it's still kind of like not in line with it. It's probably going to be this 12 inches. Let's just see. Yeah, it's actually 1 foot. 1 foot, which makes sense because it's the thickness of the roof, right? But right now, guys, this is just glass. This is just a piece of glass that's like an extended roof. You see that? I like to orbit around a little bit to see what I'm doing and how it's working out. We use the cutoff level for this roof to cut it down to a new level, and then we create another roof. Now that it's glass, we need to put some like cuts in it and add some mullions. And this kind of goes back to the wall video a little bit, because right now it's just clear glass. We would need to then also change the material on it. But guys, in the architecture tab, click on curtain grid, and see, this is where you can decide on where to put these cuts. So, you know, thinking about glass, maybe you want it to cut along here at a specific distance. I know that I'm just randomly picking, you know, cut lines, but I know that we want to, you know, think this out a little bit more when we're creating these cut lines around both sides. And I think what I'm going to do is modify it. So I'm going to escape out of this. I can still, right on the fly here, take this one and drag it over. That I'm modifying the cuts before I put the mullions on it. I know that you want to kind of space this out a little bit. If you click on here, you can kind of like use these to adjust it if you'd like. But for now, the idea is that we're going back to curtain grid and clicking here to put like cut marks in the glass. That's what it is. I'm going to have to pull those over to the other one. There. If I escape out of that and just kind of pull this over, that one's pretty close. I'm kind of doing this quickly. The time on the video is running out, but you know, you can get in there and use those numbers and kind of design it so that it's what you want. Okay. Still a piece of glass with cuts in it. So what we want to do now is to go to mullion. When we go to mullion, guys, the default on the mullion is big. It's this rectangular one that's 2.5 by 5 inches. 5 inches is a big mullion. For a big curtain wall, that's great. But if you drop this list down and look under rectangular mullions, there's a 1 inch right there. Click on 1 inch, and then you can pick, at the top, you can pick all grid lines. If you click on all grid lines and then you click on your panel, it will add the mullions to each one of these panels. So I'm clicking on each one of these panels. If you get a little error, it could be that one of the mullions is crossing over the other one and it needs to be able to delete one or the other. There it is. If I switch over to the realistic view or even the shaded view, you'd be able to see that there is some glass up there at the bottom there. Shaded or realistic, to kind of show that there is glass up there. All right, then, these are the videos, the 2 videos that will make up most of your roof concerns as far as creating a roof by extrusion, a flat roof, gable, hip, fascia boards, gutters, soffits, sloped glazing, the dormer, the additions, using here your roof unjoin roof and join to work with those. All right, well, there are a few more things, but this is probably going to help you to get started with working with roofs, and contact me if you need any help. I'm here to guide you through this and to help you create your projects. Okay, then, take care.